Alex was never fond of waiting. It was one of those activities that would really drive you crazy if you had to do it for long periods of time. Waiting for the mail, waiting for a call, or lunch, or tomorrow, or a birthday, or anything. Waiting sucked. And the more you waited, the further away the thing you were waiting for seemed to get. Short waits were often a lot worse than long waits, but neither compared to a wait for an indefinite period of time. You could stick it out for a short wait, or plan around a long wait, deciding to do something else in the meantime. But an indefinite wait? Those were the worst. Not knowing how far away something was. If you started something now, would it be interrupted? If you didn't start something now, how long would it be? How long would you be doing nothing? It was one of those kind of waits that Alex now found himself enduring. It wasn't so much that Sarah was late to their club meeting, or that George was probably not going to show up at all, or that Harry had phoned him 20 minutes ago to say he'd be there in 10. It was that they presented a combined problem. Any single one of them being late or uncertain meant that at least the other three could get on with their work. But with only Alex present in the little shack out the back of Olsen's farm, the heat of the summer proving yet again that they should pick a better meeting spot, he was left to wait. Sure, he could probably just go home, but these club meetings were his idea in the first place, and if he couldn't expect himself to turn up on time and faithfully, how could he expect the others to do the same? So Alex waited, sitting idly on one of the little fold-out chairs that his dad had lent him from work, tapping his foot in random rhythms and hoping that something would happen, and happen soon. Of his three friends, Sally was the first to turn up, almost an hour later than their supposedly regular meeting time, and by the time the others turned up, it was almost 5:30 and time to head home. Just in time to call it a day. Alex crossed his arm to show how upset he was, but George just waved him away. I'm going to have to pause it right there because Orion is doing something extreme. Okay, danger averted, we're back. Just in time to call it a day. Alex crossed his arms to show how upset he was, but George just waved him away. Don't be stupid. I wouldn't have busted my gut to get here only to pack up and go off home. There was a grin about him, and it usually spelled trouble. But right now, Alex was willing to go along with anything just to make up for all the time he'd spent doing absolutely nothing. What have you found? Alex tried not to sound hopeful, but by the spreading grin on George's face, he guessed that he hadn't been successful. A comet, George announced confidently. Mel at the observatory said it's the first time anyone has recorded it, so I got to name it. George continued explaining the long and heroic tale of how he'd been searching the night sky for the last month and came across a comet while looking for Mars. He didn't know what it was originally, so he ran his findings by the observatory and had them officiated, and there you had it, a brand new comet named Blue Streak. Alex could barely contain his excitement. This is what he had founded the astronomy club for in the first place, discovering new things in the infinite sky. It was annoying that George would hog all the credit for the find, despite using the club's, which was to say Alex's, resources, but in the end, all that mattered to him was the discovery. A little slice of heaven that no one else had noticed before, and they were some of the first to see it. All they had to do now was camp out for the night and wait. Jackie had been a nurse for 20 years now. The job was satisfying enough, even if the patients drove her crazy most of the time. The pay was lousy and... you know what? No, the job sucked. She wanted to get out, and now seemed just as good a time as any. Especially since being beaten over the back of the head, gagged, tied up, hauled off to some place unknown. Sitting in the lone chair in the large dark room, she was lit by the only small light present, and it was shining directly in her face. All in all, a bad day that just kept getting worse. She didn't know how long she'd been there, only that her captors had slapped her around a few times, asking about all the injuries that had been reported through her station that day. She wasn't a brave woman. Whatever it was these people wanted couldn't have been very good, given their treatment of her, but she wasn't about to hold out for some stupid sense of nobility. She told them everything she knew, but none of it seemed to be enough. She hated the job, but she was good at it. She personally memorized all the reports and paperwork that passed over the reception desk. Carolyn and Dimity were appallingly unsuited for their jobs, so she had to personally oversee all the paperwork that they had filled out. She told them that as well, but the woman asking the questions just laughed at her and told her that she knew, and that's why she was asking her and not them. But that doesn't change the fact that the information you have to offer is useless to us. The woman's silhouette spoke in sharp, clipped tones, like those rich girls who all become doctors instead of nurses because they can afford the tuition fees. You're going to have to do better than that. I know someone who was admitted to your... You're going to have to do better than that. I know someone was admitted to your hospital at precisely 9:23 this morning. I know you had personal contact with them. It would have been a minor wound, given the amount of blood we found. It would have but it would have required at least some treatment. The woman leant in closer. Jackie still couldn't make out her face, but the light caught the rim of her silver glasses, which created an eerie outline across her otherwise darkened eyes. "There is something you are not telling me." "Please!" Jackie burst out into tears, pleading and sobbing. "I've told you everything I know!" The woman paused for a dramatic moment before nodding. "Oh, I believe that too." She sounded like she was enjoying all of this. "But you did come into contact with someone. You've just forgotten, or put it out of your mind." Her head tilted slightly to emphasize her words. "And I'm going to unlock that piece of information, one way or another." That's it. Have fun. Goodbye.
Hey! Hey!
Orion. Hello.
I'm actually low energy there, honey.